For me, a tyre delaminated and blew at 320 miles an hour. Nobody can stop that. I mean, you could trace that back to a bug that got in the rubber when they tapped the rubber tree, or, I don't know, something caused the tyre to delaminate. That was an accident. But everything that followed from there was great. They had the right contacts in place. They did things in the right order. They got an air ambulance there. Everything was done properly. And that's all you can ultimately do, isn't it?
Jane and I are also thinking of doing a motoring podcast called Talk. Have you ever thought of doing that?
Torque.
Yeah.
I think every pun on the word talk has been played, but you might have a new one. I think it has.
Yeah.
You might have a new one.
On the subject of titles, who was it who came up with Sand Job?
Not me.
Do you know what? I've only just got it.
Yeah. It's childish.
It really is.
The honest truth, a lot, because the titles have been great. Lockdown, they've all been great fun. And a lot of the times, it's actually been Amazon people who've come up with titles. Not always, but it's not often does the channel provide ideas like that. You'll know that in our jobs. With the best will in the world, you don't lean on the broadcaster or the channel for the creative. It's what we do, darlings. But occasionally they do. And for some reason, Amazon are very good at thinking of titles for things. They probably have a huge department doing nothing else.
Well, I was going to say there'll be many, many meetings, and imagine the fist bumps when they came across that.
Oh, yeah. They'd be very pleased.
So do you want to explain why Sand Job is such a good title?
It's a good title because there was a lot of sand. We did it in Mauritania. Which I'd never been to.
Well, you didn't even think it was a real country.
Well, it doesn't sound
Can you
real,
place it on the map for everybody, please?
West Africa.
Close
very, very
bordering...
west. Senegal.
Right.
It's just above Senegal, isn't it? Yeah.
And so right on the fringes of the Sahara. In fact, a lot of the Sahara is in it. Hence, sand. There's a lot of sand. It's about 4 times the size of the UK, maybe more, but a population of about 4 million. So you can imagine everybody's very well spread out, and there's just a lot of sand.
So you were attempting to
I haven't sold that very well, have I?
Sorry, I'm getting you back on track here, but help me out.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so you're attempting to do a bit of the Paris-Dakar rally in modified cars. That's the kind of...
The Paris-Dakar rally was our sort of 80s, 90s, it peaked. That was a race from Paris to Dakar. So a lot of it was rally raid driving, which is where they drive at huge speed over rough, rocky and sandy terrain. Very exciting. It was very much of its time. So we wanted to recapture that. And at the moment, several car manufacturers are coming up with their own sort of rally raid style versions of supercars. There's a Lamborghini one, there's a Porsche 911 one, and they're very, very expensive. And we set out to ask one of our stupid questions, which was, these things cost £250,000, £300,000. Can we build one for less? As soon as we ask a question like that, you know, we're going to prove that you can't. But we tried.
So your car is an Aston Martin?
Yeah, my car was completely unsuited to the job. Aston Martin DB9 Vantage.
What colour was it?
Sort of dark greyish, but mostly sand.
Did it have a coffee cup holder?
It did. It actually did.
And there ended my questions about cars.
My kind of car.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't have to be into cars to watch our show. We've long said that because we do that for you. We've always said you don't have to be a car nerd to watch our show. We do that for you. And that's one of the reasons it works, because if you think, I'll watch that pottery show on television, I'll watch shows about baking. I don't care about baking, but the people on it do, and that carries me along. Often I don't understand what they're arguing about, but I like watching the argument and the discussion. I like watching people who care about things. It's very compelling. So we've always had that at the heart of what we do.
It's an extraordinary watch. It is a very entertaining watch. But I think you get to about halfway through and you realise that you, Jeremy and James, have not had a wee yet in the desert. Yes. And I'm not trying to be kind of gratuitously superficial. Yeah. Jane knows I certainly can. But actually it really tells you something about that terrain, doesn't it? Because the heat of the desert can't really come across on television.
You can't portray heat. It's really hard because you can't see. I mean, if it's cold, at least you can see snow and ice. But heat, it's just a nice sunny day. But yeah, it was 40 odd, 40 odd degrees all the time. And we've filmed enough in remote places to know hydration is important, and it is. But you could watch somebody drink a bottle of water and just watch it evaporate out of their head as they drank it. You couldn't stay hydrated.
So really did you worry about becoming actually properly unwell? Jane and I were saying just before you came in, you're definitely the
You're the fittest.
You're the calmest watch, because the other two do look just really...
Calmest because you don't look like I'm about to die in the next...
Well, that's
Yes.
more or less
That's what
what
you're
we were
trying not
saying.
to say.
No, that's what I am
That's what you were
saying.
actually saying.
Yes.
Yeah, they do look like they could keel over at any point.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we are used to filming in rough terrain. It's funny, I'm talking about it with some of the members of the crew, because some of them we've been with for 20-odd years. They've been part of what we do from the start. And we know each other not just from sharing an office together, but from, each waking up in a tiny nylon tent full of cockroaches pitched at 30 degrees in
So
a ditch.
in Mauritania, you were not staying in what passes for a decent hotel in
No,
Mauritania?
there were no hotels, nothing.
So you did
Camping.
camp?
Yeah. Well, there was no choice. Again, people imagine, but when somebody says cut, you helicopter off to the hotel.
You go to or a Winnebago?
No, we're in the desert. I mean, the camping it's big because there's about 100 of us. I mean, it's a huge crew now, just to be able to film it. So it's a small village that we set up, but it's camping, yeah. Which I love, the others hate.
What I really like is the dynamic, because of your height, and neither Fee nor I are blessed with stature.
I'm not overly burdened with height.
No, and well, none of us are.
Good.
That's
This
great.
is why this is working so well.
It's great.
though,
We can
isn't it?
all see into each other's
We're
eyes.
eye-to-eye
Yes,
combat.
That's
it
the
is,
future
yeah.
here. That they always seem to make you stand with
Yes.
the other two,
Yes.
and that always means you have to look up
Yes.
in a semi-adoring way
Oh, yeah, thank
at
you.
Clarkson and May.
But
And
how else could they
feel
do it? 'Cause
slightly
why
unwell
don't you
now.
just demand
You
that you
really-
sit down?
They're not going to listen to me. I couldn't demand my way out of a wet paper bag with people who would listen to me, and they certainly shan't. No, you see, I'm what, 5'7", but they're about 8'2". They're both really, really tall, and sometimes people will encounter me, and you can see they're disappointed because they were expecting a novelty item that you'd hang off a Christmas tree or put on a mantelpiece. But I'm kind of just
You're average.
moderately short.
You're tall by my standards.
Well, in your third age, that's definitely something you could think of.
Yeah, that could work.
Jane and I have considered
It's
it.
something to do.
Yeah. Could we talk seriously about the danger element of cars? And Freddie Flintoff obviously
Yeah,
had a terrible crash
He
on
did.
the programme that you used to present to, and it's clearly left him in a really, really bad physical and mental way. Are you in touch with him? Would you be able to update us at all about how
I
he
don't
is?
have any more information than you've already got. But certainly, I feel for the guy. It sounds like a really traumatic accident and a horrible experience. And I've only ever wished him all the very best from it. I mean,
But you
fact of the
had
matter is-
something quite similar, didn't you? I mean, you were in
yeah, I've
a...
had a couple of big uns, but accidents do happen. They went through our systems and protocols very closely, and we weren't found wanting, because the fact of the matter is sometimes things do go wrong. What matters then in terms of corporate responsibility and responsibility on the part of those running the show and asking us to do these things is that everything is in place to mitigate the effects should things go wrong. I mean, for me, a tyre delaminated and blew at 320 miles an hour. Nobody can stop that. I mean, you could trace that back to a bug that got in the rubber when they tapped the rubber tree, or, I don't know, something caused the tyre to delaminate. That was an accident. But everything that followed from there was great. They had the right contacts in place. They did things in the right order. They got an air ambulance there. Everything was done properly. And that's all you can ultimately do, isn't it?
But when you got back on your feet after your dreadful accident and the one that left you in a coma, definitely a very serious experience, did people around you want you to stop doing what you do because of the element of danger?
Worryingly, no.
Gosh.
No, because they knew it's what I do. I mean, I went back to work probably a bit too soon because recovering from brain injury, it's not a precise thing. It's not like watching a bone knit or a scar heal, because you can't see it. And, the functionality of your own brain, all you've got to assess that with is the brain.
Do
that's
you
been
still
damaged.
feel the impact now?
Yeah, probably, but it's only in the sense that it was one of the significant events in my life. We're all a product of our own experiences, aren't we? That's what makes us up. And we all have big moments and small moments, whether that's, births, marriages, divorces, deaths, jobs, whatever. Those are the things that make us who we are. And for me, that was one of them. My memory is not what it was. My working memory, processing memory, is still great. I can read a page of script or information and deliver it immediately. But my midterm, I'll occasionally lose a week, it isn't written down. But that's probably just a function of being 54 and working too hard. It might not be anything to do with brain injury. They call it lost...
But it might be.
It might well be, yeah. They call it lost keys syndrome, and the doctors are very keen to talk about it because for years afterwards, every time I lose my keys or whatever, I'm left thinking, oh no, that's brain injury related. It's not just lost my keys or forgotten something or forgotten somebody's name. It's nothing to do with it, but you attribute it to that.
But to the critics who might carp, this is not. It's an accident that didn't need to happen. We didn't. Freddie Flintoff didn't need to have his accident.
Because you don't need to make TV.
It's
entertainment.
Nonsensical, high octane, boys' own twaddle.
Well, it's not boys' own.
Well, no, but there is an element of that which women enjoy. I don't deny it at all, Richard. But it is all something that is highly dangerous as well, and NHS services are called upon to help people out when there are accidents. I'm just putting that side of the argument that all this is trivial and silly, but there are real life consequences.
Yes, I mean you can put that argument towards any piece of television or entertainment. It's just it doesn't need to happen, does it? Or does it? Is it an expression of something in us? And what we are addressing on the shows we've made traditionally has always been the significance of this invention, the car. We never open it up and examine it thoroughly, but it does resonate, it does chime, because what does it do? Well, we need how many things in our life? Shelter, food, companionship, water, resources. Everything beyond shelter, you have to leave your cave to get. And as a species, we invented a machine that enabled us to go and do that more effectively. And inevitably, if your machine enables you to get to that potential mate, water, resource faster than the person next to you, it's pretty appealing. So it connects with something fundamental to us as creatures. And therefore, talking about it and reflecting it in television is we do need to do that. And the fact that it is visceral and real and physical and we engage with it, it's not digital. It is fundamental to what we do. I don't think its appeal will ever diminish. And therefore, taking a well-mitigated, a well-controlled risk, I think, is excusable. And in the knowledge that sometimes it's going to go wrong.
You've been doing motoring journalism in one form or another for a very long time. And against that passage of time comes a different understanding of fuel and of car manufacture and of the impact of the motoring industry. So I wonder what that kind of journey has been like for you as a journalist. I mean, is there a bit of you that thinks I've contributed to celebrating something that's actually so problematic now?
Well, wait a minute. The car isn't, and the idea of something that moves us about, that facilitates our lives, whose story is written now across the planet, that's not the baddie. The internal combustion engine has never damaged anything. It's the fuel. Yeah. And yes, something has to be done. But I also think, as we're caught up at the moment, the necessary and inevitable decarbonisation of the transport infrastructure, it must happen, it must go on. We can't keep burning fossil fuel. We know that. There are alternatives, many of them. There are full electric vehicles, there's hybrid vehicles, there's synthetic fuels that can be used in the existing 1.6 billion cars on the road that don't have to be made because they're already made. And don't forget, the manufacturing of a car has a carbon footprint just as whatever fuel it consumes might do. So these things are solvable and resolvable, and it'll be engineering that'll get us out of it.
Yeah. Have you got an EV?
I've had 2 or 3. I don't at the moment. Right. I'm nothing against them. They can be amazingly exciting vehicles, and they have a place in the future. I've absolutely no doubt. Of course they have. Technology isn't quite there yet. Solid-state batteries are coming on. Different forms of battery are coming on. We've got to obviously generate and, more importantly, get the electricity to the user.
So you've had range anxiety?
Yeah, inevitably. That will be overcome as the range increases. But don't forget, the carbon footprint of installing a distribution network for a new fuel is huge and must sit on the shoulders of those using that electricity, obviously. So we do have to take a balanced look.
And do you think that we'll be able to build the same level of entertainment around electric vehicles? And that's not just the kind of thing that you have done yourself, but, the Formula One, that kind of racing element, the kind of woomph and sexiness.
I think we will. I mean, I don't think it's going to be the only way we go. It can't be. We can't I saw a fabulous graph that showed by 2050, even if we could continue on the current trajectory of electrification, which we can't because China's withholding the rare earth materials, etc. We can't. But even if we could, by 2050, the majority of cars on the road would still be internal combustion engine. But we do have synthetic fossil-free fuels that can power those. That's not to say electric vehicles can't be exciting. I think when they were don't forget, they predate internal combustion engines. But when it became obvious they were going to have to be increased in number, people were saying, oh, I miss the sound of a V8, it'll never get me in the same way. Actually, the sound of a V8 isn't intrinsically musical or intrinsically good. It's just by association with power and performance. That we've made that
But there
up.
is something magical about it.
But only by association. That's
Is
the
that
only
right?
reason. I mean, listen, in my heart of hearts, the howl of a V10 at full chat or a V8 burbling along is musical.
You should have heard my Fiat Panda.
What a machine.
I mean, honestly.
I had a little Fiat Twin Air, little 2-cylinder, but listening to that going brrr, it spoke to me of efficiency and cheekiness, and actually, because I'm an anorak, rugged low-down torque, depending upon the configuration of the cylinders.
Okay, you've gone too far now.
Okay, I overdid it.
I rather like the impersonation. Can you impersonate any car?
I wish I could. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, I can, but then refuse to do it. Makes me more interested.
He's being a little teased now, James.
Do you know what I'd like? What do you think this would work for you? If you and May and Clarkson just maybe take a hiatus, leave it 15, 20 years, and then I would willingly rejoin you in a kind of old farts commune where the three of you...
We've spoken about that so many times.
When you'll be looking after the other two...
We've talked about doing that.
You'll be like a robot
And
carer.
you will be doing your mobility scooters, won't you?
Yeah.
That's
you
what
can
you'll
imagine.
be racing.
Yeah, the line has always been one of us will be... I was the first to die. Yeah, we will end up in a home together.
What kind of keeping in touch will the three of you do? Because Sand Job is the penultimate grand tour,
Yes.
isn't it? So is it shared holidays?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Texts at
Yeah,
Christmas?
beach holidays together. We're often asked, do you guys hang out? And obviously we do, but that's through work, because I think for the last 23 years, there's been years when we were making one or even two complete series of it. We were never apart anyway, because we were always either in meetings planning things, or we were in a desert, a jungle.
But if
on a
you met
glacier.
each other for the first time now, would you like each other?
Oh, we'd still repulse each other. Of course we would. Listen, one of my favourite moments that I regularly get professionally now, I'm going to cough, excuse me. It's annoying. There's a wonderful moment that happens every time we make one of these specials, because obviously it's months of planning and working it all out, and we're all there for the meetings, so we're all seeing each other. But then we get onto location, wherever it is, and we've been looking at this place for months, and here we are on the ground, and the crew, there's about 80 people around us. It's big. And there comes the moment when the director says action for us to shoot the first scene. And it's in that moment, as though we all step into this world that we're there permanently inhabiting together, but then we go and join ourselves in it. And it's an absolutely wonderful moment. And when we're in that world, because we've spent so much time on camera together, we know each other very well. I know when something comes along, if I say whatever, I know broadly how they'll respond. We know instinctively between the three of us which one of us should pick up on something that happens. It might be, that's more of a James thing, I'll stay quiet and let him do it. Or it's a Jeremy thing. Or I know if I say this, it'll trigger rage in Jeremy or laughter in James. We know each other well enough to know there's a sort of a live shorthand going on, which saves a lot of messing about.
And is there any envy or jealousy between the three of you?
No, it's the one thing that there isn't. No, because why would there be? In what way? I wouldn't want to be either of them. They wouldn't want to be me. No, I don't think there is. We have had different careers outside of what we do together. We always have had. And we don't always watch what the others do because we see enough of them. But no, there's no envy.
So you haven't watched Clarkson's Farm or any
Oh,
of
of
James
course I
May's brilliant shows?
I have. Yeah, of course I have. We do.
Sorry, is Jeremy? I mean, we don't want to gloss over the fact that you let Top Gear left the BBC, or you left your version of Top Gear on the BBC because of Jeremy Clarkson's belligerence. I mean, more than belligerent, because he tonked somebody.
It didn't really amount to, I don't want to go back into that. So,
but
it wouldn't amount to much of a tonk, to be honest.
No, but if either I or Fee had ever behaved in that manner, I do venture to suggest that we would not be working in the media anymore.
I'm not sure it was. It wasn't atypical for what you'd see in the media. Do you want to? Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, we can't be talking about.
I'll get shouted.
Again, it's not for Richard to be answering.
No, okay.
To be fair, I mean, Jeremy has discussed that in the
Yeah,
past,
he
but
definitely
there was
has.
nothing that I saw that
Yeah.
nothing I saw that stopped.
And Jeremy
me
works
working
for this
with him.
organisation,
Exactly.
so you
Yeah,
know.
There's nothing I saw happen that would stop me working with the guy, and they didn't end it. They didn't renew his contract for one season, but we all decided to go off together.
Yeah.
Do you want to press start again? One final question, and then we will let you go. What is next for you? Because I think it's something without fuel, isn't it? It's pedal power. Are you mountain biking down the Himalayas, or is that just something in a press release?
Oh, was it? Who said mountain biking?
Oh, so I'd read that your next solo project was going to be mountain biking.
No, I'm motorcycling around the Himalayas with my brother for his 50th birthday, and I'm actually going on like a grand tour adventure, but for real, not filming it. Yeah. But next for me, work-wise, I'm running Drive Tribe, which is the sort of digital agency that I set up. Well, we set up years ago, but we've rebirthed, and it's going really well. And I make a little show for Discovery Plus about my classic car restoration business. I'm a terrible businessman. It's ruining me. I'm really useless at it. Turns out to be really hard. Who knew? So yeah, I'm keeping busy. 36 years I've worked in and around the media, so I can't do anything else now.
What was your best link on local radio?
My first ever one, I've got to find the tape. I've got a cassette tape somewhere of it. In 1988, I was hosting Last Week in North Yorkshire on BBC Radio York, which was a sort of a look back over the week. So it was an hour-long show. And I was 18. And over the week, you're gathering together little tapes. You remember quarter-inch reel-to-reel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, gosh,
Sadly, yes.
Cutting it together on a Tascam. So you'd be editing that.
Chinograph pencil.
It's Chinograph blade.
Lovely stuff.
That's why they call it cut. So I'd edit that through the week. And then on the Sunday, all on my little own, going into the radio station at the age of 18, sitting in cubicle 1B. The presenter of the morning show was in 1A and the news upstairs. So you'd pull the news up on remember the RBS fader? You'd pull that up on the left-hand side.
I still have nightmares
so that
about
news
that.
would be up. The news would be playing, then you'd lift the flap in the middle of the desk and press the red button that makes your desk live. And that's it, I've got control of the radio station. And my first link, it comes out of the news. I play the jingle off the right cart stack.
Well, I'm loving this, but there might be too much detail for some.
Keep going.
We can nerd.
Yes.
I play the jingle in off the back of the news, and you hear me say, "Hello, welcome to Last Week in North Yorkshire. I'm Richard Hammond with you until 12 o'clock. Please call if we're asking people to call
What
in."
a nightmare it must have been if the only news had come from South Yorkshire.
Shocking. Then I play the first record in, which is Papa Was a Rolling Stone, and I hit the vocals perfectly, talk up to the intro, bosh, hit the vocals, and then slowly you realise I've left the microphone open because you hear me answering the telephone to the first caller. Hello, yes, and then I go quiet, then I come back on mic and say, "Oh, that was the first caller, you could be the next one." Absolutely terrifying.
You've got
that was my
to
favourite.
find that
I know,
cassette.
I must.
You've got to find
and then
that.
burn it so that nobody ever...
No. YouTube sensation. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Very
It's
nice to
to
meet
drop
you.